Good evening, everybody. This is Rob with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest tonight he's a self-taught special effects makeup artist, Kevon Ward. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. So what have you been up to lately?
A lot of sculpting. I just had more client projects come down the pipeline. So I'm working on some life-size Nightmare Before Christmas characters right now. And I'm going to be sculpting a full-size Grinch for an upcoming attraction. So that's what I'm working on at this precise moment.
So you're working on a life-size sculpture of the Grinch. So what kind of attraction is it going to be part of?
It'll be for a location in Colorado Springs called the Illusion Bar.
Ooh, what's Illusion Bar all about? Do tell me.
It's a bar that has different themes.
Okay.
So currently, I believe they're still doing Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I did a few Lord of the Rings sculptures for them. They liked what I did. They said, "Hey, do you like the Nightmare Before Christmas?" I said, "Do I like the Nightmare Before Christmas?" Yes. So I'm going to do a few of those sculptures. And then for Classic Christmas, which will be featured in November through December, they want a life-size Grinch. So I'm starting on all those things right now.
So what got you into your fascination for Nightmare Before Christmas?
I remember when that movie came out, it was 1993. I remember seeing the previews and just thinking, this looks like nothing I've ever seen before. And I didn't get the chance to see it in the theaters. But when I was at Walmart, I saw the VHS. And I asked for it. Because, it just looked like it had to be good. So I got the VHS, I took it home, and I watched it. And I was just very mesmerized by it. I was in first grade, and I thought, this is just weird and it's creepy, but it's beautiful. The songs are amazing. And stylistically, it was something that never felt like it had really been done before. I mean, we've seen Tim Burton's fingerprints before in other films. I mean, Beetlejuice had already come out, Edward Scissorhands. But there was nothing in that vein that was aimed at kids at the time. Mm-hmm. We see it a lot now, but I think you gotta pay credit to the films that carved that path out.
I totally agree with you on that. There was a lot of films I liked where I picked up the VHS tape. There's probably a lot of young people today don't even know how to use a VHS tape.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I do think that films just were darker. Mm-hmm. I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas came out in 93, but, we can't forget the things that came out in the 80s. A lot of fantasy was very dark. A lot of the Jim Henson movies that use puppets, The Neverending Story, those are all very dark films.
Oh, also don't forget Legend with
with Tim Curry, right?
Yeah, that was pretty dark and twisted too. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was wild. So, you were also on Syfy's Face Off. Before you got on, what were some of the stuff you had to do to try to get onto the show? Was it pretty hard, or did you have to build certain projects to show them before you got on?
I mean, the way the process works is you apply to Pittman Casting. You have to do a video of yourself applying a makeup. You can do it on yourself, or you can do it on somebody else. If they are impressed by that, then what they do is they'll send you a very large packet you have to fill out. And here, you can bring that in. Should I have mint or raspberry? I'm drinking tea right now.
Oh, do raspberry all the way, brother. Raspberry.
All right, cool. All right, so anyways. Oh, and the cat's in here too. So yeah, after that happens, you have to do a whole lot of paperwork, and then you have to, if they move you on from there, because I did apply more than once. The first time I applied, that's as far as I got. The second time I got further in the process, and they said, now you have to fly out. We have to actually see you do a makeup in person. And then...
I know your cat's me on. That's funny.
So, yeah, you have to you have to do a makeup in person, and then you have to talk to the casting producers. You have to do like a psych evaluation. You have to do a personality test, and the rest of your portfolio has to be good also. It can't just be this one time you did something good. I mean, they really want to make sure you're going to go on the show and you're going to be impressive. I mean, every contestant that's been on has been on for a reason. I mean, everybody is good. Obviously, some outrank others, but they want to make sure that they get talent in front of the camera.
So how much? So when you finally got on, when you were, doing what you needed to do on there, how much pressure and preparation did it take a toll on you?
Once I was on?
Yeah.
I was just filled with anxiety the entire time.
Okay.
Especially episode 1. I just thought, I'm going to go home first. I felt that way when we were at the museum and I was looking around at the cast. And at that point, I didn't even know what anyone's talent level was. And I was kind of trying to size people up. I mean, if people looked kind of young, I thought, okay, hopefully you're not very good. Hopefully, you got on because you got some like personality quirk that the show wants. Like, hopefully you're not good. People that were older, I thought, well, you probably are good. Also, people that were less eccentric, I figured that they were probably good. I figured like all the eccentric people were on there just, to make the reality show look interesting. So I was already trying to kind of pick out, all right, who's going to be good, who's not going to be that great. And then when we got into the lab and we started sculpting, I realized everyone here is good. Every single person here is good. And I just thought, man, I'm not going to make it very long. And I hung in there for a while, but every episode I always thought, like, I'm going home. And in fact, I didn't even pack much when I went to the show. I was on 2 seasons. I was on 9 and 13. And it was the same both times. I barely packed. Just, a few clothes to last a week. And then, I don't know. It's funny. Life usually turns out to be ironic.
Hey, you did pretty good for, packing light.
Well, I think that's why I did good. If I had packed 10 suitcases, then... yeah, you bet your ass I would have got home first.
I like how you said that. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to pack light. Let's see what happens. I'm a little intimidated by everybody, but I'm going to go in there and try to do the best I can. And boom, then look what happens.
Well, and then what also happened, history repeats itself because on both 9 and 13, I went home on a makeup that I liked. On season 9... I always felt like it was going to be me on the chopping block, and then when we did the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse challenge, I actually quite liked what I did. And I thought, all right, I can relax this week, and then that's the week I went home. I 13 went kind of similarly, too.
I bet you were pretty relieved a little bit, weren't you?
You go home?
Yeah.
You mean all the other times?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the other times I was relieved.
So, since you've done all kinds of sculptures and all that, has there been one sculpture that you really want to do that you haven't did yet that no one would never think that you would do?
Something I want to do. What do I want to do? Let me think. Yeah, that shouldn't even be a hard question because I'm always thinking of all these things I want to. One cosplay I want to do is I want to do Zombie Clue.
Woo!
I want to have all the players, but I want them to be zombies, and each of them has to involve one of the murder weapons.
That would be wild. You should do that. You should get some people and do that and go to some conventions. You guys would get a pop.
I think so, and I've talked to a few people about it, so I think that'll happen at some point. And yeah, I do want to do that. Did you ever watch the Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Powerpuff Girls. That was a fun series on Cartoon Network, yeah.
Do you remember the villain Him?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to do that makeup on a drag queen at some point, but do like the actual claws, do like the devil face, all that. I'd like to do that. That'd be fun.
Oh, drag queens get crazy when you like put them in that special makeup and special effects. Man, they go all out, man. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's something else I've thought about. I mean, there's all kinds of things I want to do, but like when I have to like think of like the one thing, yeah, I'm not quite sure what that is yet. These Nightmare Before Christmas sculptures I'm about to do, though, that's always been something I've really wanted to do. Because I don't know if you saw the Arrow monsters I did, the realistic looking ones.
No, I haven't. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, I take it you remember that show, right?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Yeah, it was a big hit in the 90s on Nickelodeon. I always wanted to do realistic versions of the Arrow monsters because they're drawn just so weird. And I thought, what if those were lifelike? What would those look like? So I did lifelike versions of those, and it was a huge hit. People on the internet really loved it, and I take them to conventions quite often now for people to see. So I'm actually going to send you a picture right now, and I'll do it right here on Zoom if it works. I think it will.
Yeah, go ahead and send it. So when you started to go into conventions, what was it like for your very first ever like convention appearance? And what was going through your head, what you were thinking before you did your first convention appearance?
That's hard to say because I think the first convention appearance I ever did, I was probably just helping somebody. So whatever my first time was, it wasn't a circumstance where I was the star of it or I was what people came to see. The first time that ever happened, I mean, it was probably post face-off, so it probably didn't feel... I don't think I felt all that intimidated by it after coming off of face-off. What I do like about conventions, though, is I like that you can just talk like this. I also like panels. Because I like questions that you can give good answers to. Things I don't like... The news I don't really like. When I worked at the 13th floor, they'd always have the news come down. And you don't have time to really elaborate on much of anything. It has to be very quick because they have to snap to the next story they're telling or the weather or whatever.
Oh, yeah. All panels are like that. I've noticed that. And they'll try to rush you when you try to get that right question. You try to answer it and they want to answer it like this. Oh, we don't got time. We got to go to the next question. I hate when that happens in panels.
Oh, I do too.
You know, because you want to get that one question, you know, it's like, I'm going to answer this question, I want to get it, and you don't get that question, so you're like leaving the panel going, man, that would have been a good question, but you couldn't answer it for me.
Yeah.
So also, did you get to work with Rob Zombie on a haunted house as well?
I did, yeah. That was in 2014. No, that was 2013. Yeah, we did Rob Zombie's Great American Nightmare. And the theme was Haunt of a Thousand Corpses, because it was a play on his film House of a Thousand Corpses.
So,
that's cool. He was a cool guy to meet.
So, did he reach out to you, or did you reach out to him to be part of this project?
What happened was there were a lot of in-between people on that. So, I don't know, because Rob Zombie, he was the brand. He was the face of it. I'm not so sure it was his idea. I think whoever was producing the haunted house probably approached his agent and said, we want to brand a haunted house after him. Give him whatever his cut is, and then that will be like the gimmick. Come see Rob Zombie's haunted house. Then from there, I don't know how it ended up in our lab. The company I was working for was LFX, stands for LaFond Effects, because Lou LaFond's the owner. He was the one that got hired for the project. So I don't know if his company was sought after. I'm not sure how it happened. Because like I said, between me and Rob Zombie, there were a lot of different people. But, I mean, it all worked out to the point that, yes, I got to go to Pomona, California. I got to work on this haunted house. I got to meet him. He even gave me permission to paint the very first facade you see when you walk in. He said, just do something. So I painted it like the Lords of Salem movie, and he loved it. It was really cool.
That's pretty good.
At night, I was painting, and someone came in behind me and was slow clapping. I turned around, it was Rob Zombie. I'm like, cool, well, thank you, and you're welcome.
I bet that was a big geek out moment for you because he was liking some of your work. You're probably going, yeah.
It was, yeah.
That's pretty wild. Um, do you also do like other like haunted houses like during the Halloween season? Like haunted attractions? Do you go around doing any of the special effects for that or?
I haven't for some time, actually. I stopped working for the 13th floor officially in 2019. Though I am still, from time to time, I'm involved with them. They own the Magic of the Jack-O-Lantern show down in Hudson Garden, which is in Littleton. They also have a location in LA now, so these last few months, I spent quite a lot of time carving pumpkins for them. The ones that have celebrities or characters on them, I did quite a bit of that.
Oh, I bet that was pretty wild. So when you're not doing special effects, makeup, and all that fun stuff, what does Kevin Ward enjoy doing? I mean, besides liking The Nightmare Before Christmas, you have that passion that you really love.
It's funny when people ask that because they expect something else. I mean, in my free time, I usually just fill it with more art. Because, there's the art you want to do, and then there's the art you're paid to do. So I feel like on a day off, I'm just doing another project.
So what type of art do you like doing besides what you're usually doing?
I go through phases where I like to paint. I like to paint on canvas, surrealism. I like to write. I've written scripts before. Things are completely non-creative. I do like to go running, but I feel like that's creative too because I do some of my best thinking and best brainstorming when I do that.
So you said you were writing scripts and all that. What stopped you from pursuing a little bit more to make like a short film or a feature film?
Well, I was working on a web series for a while. It's called Bored as Hell. Mm-hmm. If you go to YouTube, it's hard to find. You might have to type in, I think if you type in like 666 Bored as Hell, you can find a dark comedy web series that my friends and I did. It's about Satan retiring. He gets a talk show on Earth. It's like rated R Jim Henson. Very South Park style humor. So we did do that for quite some time.
Was it like puppets or animation?
It was live action, but we did have puppets. We had an episode with a flying spaghetti monster, so I made a flying spaghetti monster puppet for one episode.
That is funny. I need to find this to see this flying spaghetti monster. That's hilarious.
I can find that for you, too. Let's see. I'm just going to send you some stuff right here in the Zoom chat so you can look at it.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
Well, and I think that's one of our stronger episodes, too, because the premise is that Satan is preparing, the Last Supper. So everything's got to go great. And then, the flying spaghetti monster shows up and starts causing a ruckus. So that's the whole premise.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. You got a wild, crazy mind, man. You need to go start hanging out with Joe Bob Briggs.
I sent you a link to that episode, so hopefully you'll be able to see it.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I always like to check out new stuff. I like to support, like, indie filmmakers, indie artists and all that. I like to share their story to get it out there. I just love everything in the independent side of things. I mean, because that's where you do more of your blood, sweat, and tears and your heart and soul.
Yeah.
It seems like when you do projects like that, it seems like they really turn out really great, than some of the, mainstream stuff.
Well, I think the reason why they do is because innovation is born out of people doing what they're passionate for. Because, I look at the distribution of art in two different ways. I mean, there is the actual artistic, creative, trend-setting side of it, but then there is also the business side of it. And what I've noticed is when I was working the 13th floor, they really lean into trends. I mean, the year It came out, we themed it like clowns. And I think this year it's themed after The Last of Us. I mean, it's not called The Last of Us because, it's a trademark property. But, I mean, they have like a mushroom zombie. You know what I mean? And what's good about that is, you're betting on what is tried and tested. And I do the same thing when I go to conventions. If I paint Freddy Krueger or The Nightmare Before Christmas, anything like that, I know it's going to sell. So, is it me being original? No, but I am an artist. I'm an artist I'm an artist for the sake of making a living. Also, mm-hmm. So I will go for those low hanging fruits often because that is what pays. Now, when I do art that comes directly from me, I feel like that is what's more rewarding because it's riskier. And if you think about anything that has become a genre, it has started with an original idea.
Oh yeah, all of them. Because if you watch movies nowadays, it always, like he just says, it always starts that starts at the original, and then someone will come up with a copy of that to try to make that different. You know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Yes, because I think I'm trying to remember what your question was. You asked something about how did you phrase it? Because I just went on this whole thing about it.
What question did I ask you?
Well, something. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
I'm trying to remember how I got on this train of thought. 'Cause I think you asked something about being an original artist or being somebody that is kind of thinking outside the box, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, there's a lot of artists out there that are in the same profession, the same field. What makes your stuff more unique and out different than some of the artists that are doing the same stuff like you?
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then now I remember, because you said you really like artists that just come up with, like, their own weird... Artists that have, like, their own weird imagination.
Yeah, I said you have a pretty wild, weird imagination where you can bring out the uniqueness of yourself to really post something out where people's like, hey, this is really cool, like, trying to be different than from other, you know...
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember how the topic drifted here, and now you're asking what it is you think sets me apart. Stylistically, I'm not sure, and the reason why is because it's hard to see your own work properly.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at other people's work, and I felt like this way on Face Off, if you just took all the makeups and put them in a lineup, I could tell you who did what with pretty good accuracy. And people say that about me all the time. They'll see something and say, yeah, that definitely looks like a Kevon painting or a Kevon makeup. So I obviously have a look. I'm not sure what that is because I feel like we have a sort of farsightedness when it comes to what we do. Up close, we're not sure what our own, like it's like we're not sure what our own brand is. You know what I mean? The rest of the world can see it, but sometimes we can't.
You know how everybody, you know, special effects and special makeup artists come up with their original characters. Like we already have a Freddy Krueger, we already have a Michael Myers, we already, you know, have a Jason. Have you ever, you know, I know you like wrote scripts and all that, like, you know, horror scripts. Have you ever wrote a horror script with like a original like character that's in your making that's like just original and different than from Freddy and Jason? Do you have that type of character you would love to, you know, sculpt or bring to life to a film?
Yes, and it's based off of the character I got eliminated on season 9 Face Off. Yeah, I got Pestilence.
Yeah.
Because the challenge was 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and Pestilence was the one I really wanted. I thought, I'm just going to make something really disgusting, and I got eliminated, and Glenn said no director would ever put a camera on that. And I remember months after that, I felt like I needed to just write a script based off of this poor, rejected character. And so I did, and I actually do have a script about it, and it's funny because it's set at 45 pages for several years, and even just today I was adding to it because I plan on expanding it to a feature. But I would like to welcome a character like that into the ranks of all these scary icons.
Why not? I mean, you got the killer Winnie the Pooh. You got Art the Clown. I mean, why not?
Exactly, and I feel like it is also a vindication to myself too, because I mean, how funny is that? I get sent home on this, and instead of lamenting the fact that my monster was my downfall, I think, no, I'm going to elevate this creature and write a script about it. Hopefully one day get it made into a film.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. And get it out to film festivals and see what happens, you know? And then the people at Face Off will be like, okay, we may not like it, but oh my gosh, we should have thought totally different. He's doing a movie about it and everybody likes it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, right? That's the whole thing about writing a script. You know, you just don't know if it's going to be liked or not. I mean, it takes a lot of preparation and thoughts to write a script. Writing a script's pretty hard, and then coming up with something and all the special effects. And a lot of people don't realize of how much work that takes. To make like a short film or a feature.
Even a bad one.
Yeah.
Even a bad film takes a tremendous amount of work. It's very hard, and yeah, people don't realize that. And it is always a risk. I mean, every single stage of it, even the script by itself is a risk, because the scripts are very hard to write. And let's say you overcome the challenge of writing a script. You finally get the script written. And let's say you've had enough people proofread it and give you feedback to the point to even make a good script.
Yeah.
Just finishing a script is hard. Finishing a good script even harder. But then a good script doesn't even guarantee a good film. You can ruin a great story by making a crappy film.
Oh yeah,
it can be directed badly. It can be performed badly, edited. So many things have to work right to make something just watchable.
Or it could have some bad lighting, like some of those films you see on the Syfy channel.
Yeah, very bad lighting.
So, if you ever made a film like that, you're more of a practical special effects guy than a CGI guy.
Yes, I am. However, I don't know if I would say I do CGI, as in I don't think I really create. I mean, CGI means computer-generated image. Rarely do I make something strictly on the computer that makes it into film. What I like to do is I like to use After Effects, for example, as a connective tissue. I like to make a lot of my elements practical, and then I like to use After Effects to bring things together. I think that digital techniques are incredibly useful. I like the relationship between the two. I like the relationship between digital and practical.
That's the question I wanted to know. I think the same way too. So, what are some of the other projects you're going to be getting ready to do in the near future?
Well, it's not the near future, but I would like to make that feature at some point.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I can call. We'll just call that future. I don't know if it's near future.
Okay, we'll say you're coming out with a feature film in the future.
Animation has been something I've been doing, so possibly in the near future I might be showing off some of that. More conventions I plan on doing. I'm doing more work in Atlanta lately, and that's important to me because that's a big place to go.
Yeah, that's where everybody goes, like, for making films, acting, everything. They got studios down there. I mean, that's where it's all at in Atlanta. I'm originally from California, but I live in the Midwest in Ohio, and there's a lot of big filmmakers going to Ohio, making films too.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I like Denver. I want to just try out other places because I just think you don't do right by yourself if you don't try and make it anywhere else. I mean, I've cultivated a pretty good thing here in Denver, and I feel fortunate that I'm a local people turn to often when they need not just effects for movies, but when they need scenic art, like this bar I was telling you about, or when people need commission work. I do, like I said, I do a lot of fine art. I do a lot of paintings around the holidays. I do body paintings for club events also. So I do have a good thing here. I definitely have got a good enough following, good enough clientele, but then the curse of being ambitious is that you're always going to feel like, okay, well, that's not good enough anymore.
Yeah, and you have to... Yeah, you have to try to like top it off that what you had last time. It's like, and you get that stress, anxiety. You're like, okay, this is really good. What can I really top off the next one?
No, that's how it feels all the time. In fact, when I got accepted for Face Off, before I even made it there, before I was even on the steps of the museum to hear my first challenge, I'm talking about when I first got the email that said, congratulations, you've been accepted as part of the cast. In that moment, I thought, I have just peaked. What am I going to do after this? And the show hadn't even started. I had not even filmed a single part of it yet. But I already had that sort of intrepidation. Like, I have just reached the top of what I am going to be. Now what am I going to... Like, it felt so bleak. Like, the second this great thing happened that I had wanted for so long happened, I already just thought, well, how am I going to outdo this? It's weird. It's weird to feel that way. And also, it's definitely... It's left a huge impact on me. I mean, the show has been life-changing. It led to a lot of opportunities. It gave me a lot of reach. But in a way, like, I feel like I'm always going to be in that competition forever. I keep up with a lot of the contestants. Some I'm still personal friends with, but many of the others I see into their lives through their Instagrams. I even see people in magazines once in a while. I'll be flipping through a makeup magazine, and I'll see someone's work, some film they've worked on, or I'll see someone at a trade show. And so what I do think is good about that is it keeps me on my toes. It makes me think, okay, cool. You're crushing it. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to be the best version of myself constantly? That's a good thing, but it's also, there's a lot of risk that comes with that too. Because you can become very self-deprecating very easily.
I believe that. So where can everybody find you on social media to see what you're doing next?
I have a website at last, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is, because I talked about getting one for years and years and years. I finally got one. It's easy to remember. It's just KevonWard.com. I'm easy to find on Instagram. It's also Kevon Ward, KEVON, WARD. Same thing on Facebook. I don't go by aliases because I don't want to make it harder to find me. I want to be as unconcealed as possible. So, yeah, it's literally just my name. If you need to look me up, find me, anything.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
All right. And everybody, thank you for